Before I proceed to provide the updates in relation to the ministries that fall under my purview, I crave your indulgence this morning to once again mention and give my condolences to the McKnighters and all of us in Central Bastia who continue to grieve the loss of our people as a result of the uptick in crime and violence. I cannot even, Madam Speaker, begin to comprehend the depth of emotions that our families and people in the McKnight area continue to experience. I remain standing in solidarity with good people in Central Bastia. I continue and I remain committed to serving and representing them in these paths. I cannot continue to reiterate the need for us, Madam Speaker, to take competitive politics out of issues that relate to crime and violence. I urge my colleagues here with me this morning to display a sense of political maturity and continue to prioritize crime and violence as a national issue, as opposed to it being a political issue. Now, Madam Speaker, permit me to give an update on the recovery efforts as it relates to tourism and all the other ministries, international transport, civil aviation, and even the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Overall, the Ministry of Tourism and the St. Kitts Tourism Authority have been actively working to promote the country as a safe and attractive destination, not just for our visitors, but for our residents alike. Within the last few weeks, we've been meeting with our persons in the travel industry, our regional and international carriers, to get an idea as to how the routes have been performing. We continue with our strategy as it relates to airlift, and essentially, Madam Speaker, that is to improve and increase lift to our islands, whether it is on a seasonal basis or year-round. We are proud to increase our flight options from the US, and with the initiation of JetBlue's non-stop service from JFK to the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw International Airport 3 times per week, beginning 2nd November, 2023. This, of course, adds to our overall strategy to increase lift to our destination. This monumental partnership, Madam Speaker, is clearly testament to the growing consumer demand for St. Kitts and Nevis, of course, and our post-pandemic growth, which we think is significant. JetBlue will be the first year-round option from the northern US, which happens to be our biggest source market for tourism, and we're thrilled, Madam Speaker, to make this substantial enhancement to our options for airlift. We also met with United Airlines, and they have reported that the route from Newark into St. Kitts also performed extremely well last season, and that season is from November into the end of May. Consequently, Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to advise that we did not have to pay 1 cent out on the MRG that's in place for that. It shows that we are working in the ministry and at the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, and even with our partners at the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority. So what we've done strategically, Madam Speaker, is we have reassigned that MRG for the service from May through to August 2024. So there would be no MRG in place from November 2023 up until April, May 2024, which is the winter season. But thereafter, the MRG will be in place from May up to August. What that does, Madam Speaker, is have year-round service to the destination. We struggle a lot after the winter season to get lift from St. Kitts outwards, and with the MRG for that period, for that service, it is a part of the overall strategy to increase lift in the Federation. Additionally, we met with Air Canada, and they also reported that last season was also very successful. As a result, they have decided, that is our partners at Air Canada, to increase capacity by 35%, utilizing, Madam Speaker, the larger A321 Air Canada Rogue aircraft, which now has 12 premium and 184 economy seats. This new season for Air Canada would begin 4th November 2023 and ends on 27th April 2024. And like the other carriers, our objective is also to have year-round service for Air Canada into the destination. So when they're saying we're on planes and we're all over the place, we are working. And not only are we getting additional lift, Madam Speaker, but the flights are coming filled, so that our partners have been moved to increased aircraft and even not request MRGs as it relates to the service. Similarly, with Inter-Caribbean, which service was launched less than 6 months, the route has been performing extremely well, with load factors, Madam Speaker, between 90 to 100% on every single flight. As a result, our partners at Inter-Caribbean as well have decided that we will need to upgrade the aircraft that's assigned to us from the 28-seater to the 50-seater, and so that should be in effect as we speak. So we are performing, we are working. Ignore the noise, as my colleague from me this evening will say. No, even with British Airways, we have this carrier that stops in Antigua and then on to St. Kitts. We were told, in terms of apportioning seats, that our destination, St. Kitts, got maybe 40% of the seats, and Antigua would have been assigned 60% per flight. They have reported that within the last season, most of the seats would have been assigned to St. Kitts based on the demand that has been stimulated for the destination so far, and they've seen an uptick in increase for demand for the destination, and so we are happy to report that as well. Now, with the addition of JetBlue, we now have year-round service from the US with American Airlines out of Miami, year-round with JetBlue out of New York in the north, and of course year-round with British Airways out of London. And so we continue our efforts to increase lift to the destination, and we are proud of the progress we've made just within 10 months of taking office. 10 months, Madam Speaker, we've lifted travel restrictions. We've developed key relationships, not just to add regional airlift capacity, but also international airlift capacity for our people and for the destination overall. And so all of that we've done in 10 months. We've introduced regional and international lift and lift restrictions immediately. That's just in 10 months, Madam Speaker. We continue our efforts to work for the people of this federation. The robust rebound as well for the cruise sector. We gave the figures when we were here last, and we anticipate a similar season. In fact, we are going to publish in a short time the number of calls that we anticipate for the cruise season. And so we anticipate as well that we're going to have a good cruise season come next, starting in October. All of this, Madam Speaker, benefits our stakeholders in the industry and our people as we continue to generate economic activity within the Federation. Of course, we're all aware that tourism accounts for 40%, just a little over 40% of our GDP. And so we continue our efforts to create work for our stakeholders in the industry and our people of the Federation. Generally, we're told even for December, the flights are practically packed, almost sold out for the months of November and December. It shows that there is demand for, not just for visitors, but our people in the diaspora who want the opportunity to come back home as well. I was pleasantly surprised when I came in on Saturday that there were 2 flights from American Airlines out of Miami, one at 10 in the morning and one at midday. And when we inquired, because this double flight arrangement wasn't scheduled, Madam Speaker, to commence until August, but American Airlines has seen the demand for STEM kits, and they have introduced on Saturdays, starting last Saturday, 2 flights on Saturday at 10:12 a.m. and at midnight.
I was on one and it was full.
Yes, and the one I came on was packed. The one that came in before was also filled to capacity, and that speaks volumes, Madam Speaker. It shows that we continue to work, and that the work we're doing in the industry is impactful. And so I'm pleased to report that this morning, not just internationally, but regionally, with Inter-Caribbean also increasing, but introducing the aircraft with more seats. As it relates to the music festival, we're full speed ahead. In fact, we're ahead of schedule. If you've gone to Warner Park, you'll see that work has begun on the venue. And the venues team is working. We are trying our best to accommodate everyone. There is a demand for persons who are interested in having bars at the festival. We've gotten at the ministry in excess of 50 applications for persons expressing their interest in having bars. And we have a policy where we are trying to accommodate persons who would have had bars before, and of course, new persons. And so we try to strike a balance where everybody benefits. Those who want to have a bar for the first time, and those who would have supported the festival over the years. Naturally, some persons are going to be left out. That is a harsh reality. The venue isn't sufficient to accommodate everyone. And even if it was, it may not have been profitable, Madam Speaker, for us to have all 50 vendors at the music festival at the same time. And so we're continuing our best efforts to try to accommodate persons who've expressed interest. We full speed ahead. The artists are excited to come, and we're working closely with national security to beef up our efforts as it relates to security, not just at the venue, but on the island, nationwide, to make sure that our people are safe for the festival before and even after. In terms of getting to the festival, there's been some persons who've been reaching out to suggest that they've not been able to get seats. And so when we met with our partners, we requested additional lift in terms of bigger aircrafts and possibly the introduction of additional flights. What we have been told, particularly with Inter-Caribbean, they would be flying, in addition to the usual 3 days per week, they are considering flying daily during the week of the festival. And of course, this is out of Barbados, with connectivity from the other islands, of course, Antigua, St. Lucia, St. Vincent. And so we should be able to get flights daily with Inter-Caribbean. We've already spoken about American Airlines and the additional lift. We're also working with McKenna Ferry Service, and they're also providing travel options to get to St. Kitts from Seashore, St. Martin, and Sable. We've heard all the complaints, suggestions, observations as it relates to how things work at the marina at Port Zante. We continue to have our interagency meetings involving St. Christopher's Casper, UDC, and even immigration to make sure that the overall experience for our visitors at the UDC Marina and elsewhere, the airports and seaports, is easy and pleasant. So we've seen all these suggestions and the comments, and we are working to make sure that we can deliver that during the festival. So we have McKenna, we have Inter-Caribbean, and we have American Airlines with additional dates for the festival. I briefly spoke on the upcoming cruise season, but I wanted as well to take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, to advise our stakeholders, as we would have said to them in meetings, that we're about to start our consultations leading up to the issuance of the respective licenses to operate during the upcoming cruise season, particularly the taxi and tour operators who continue to come to the ministry daily with their applications and their questions as to when we would be issuing licenses. We just completed the revision of the policy as it relates to the issuance of licenses, and we are going to embark on the series of consultations with all of the stakeholders and get their feedback on the policy that we hope to take effect from October of this year. So you'll be hearing from us in terms of the schedule when we want to meet with you, and we want to have your suggestions and your feedback on the policies and the revision of the policies, particularly for taxi and tour operators, the use of UDC and its parking spaces, and all the other policies as it relates to our hoteliers and restaurateurs. We will be meeting you to have our consultations. So respectfully, Madam Speaker, those are updates as it relates to the Ministry of Labour and Employment. We've sent a delegation off to the ILO, that's the International Labour Organization in Geneva, where they're having their annual general conference, and our team is there. We are behind on a number, unfortunately. We were called upon to report to the conference as to why, as a country, we would not have ratified a number of conventions and why we are behind on a number of things. As a country, unfortunately, we have sent a team, and the team has been reporting, and we've been getting the support that has been offered to us as a country. We are behind. I will say when the team comes back, we will get the report. We have representatives from the Chamber of Commerce, we have representatives from the union, and we have representatives from the government. So the full tripartite agency is in Geneva, and we were identified as one of the countries with serious failure to report on a number of initiatives. And so we are glad that we have our delegation there representing us as a federation. We're going to do our best to see how we can be compliant in terms of the introduction of the respective legislation that is required for us. And a big thing that's being discussed there is just transition and social justice. How do we transition our people with all that's happening with climate change and the jobs, the gaps in the labor market, all those things we're going to be in consultation as well within the Ministry of Labour and Employment as it relates to our people. So we continue our efforts. I'm happy to provide this update. We continue to work diligently for our people of this nation. May it please you, Madam Speaker.